finally the tying up of the Osiris-Isis connection with the Trumps. Okay, so this was really relevant, which I hadn't seen before, was this statue that was created of Melania in her hometown. And what ended up happening was it ended up catching on fire. Somebody put flames to it, and then the artist took it down and put it in his museum. And you can go watch him talking about how he sees how this is a really special piece now. I'll drop the link to his interview, but when he was talking, he said it's such a special piece now because it's now the burnt one. Now, if you know anything about alchemy, and I've discussed this before, the burnt ones are like the ascended souls. They're the Kimmery of Wales, and it's like the blackened ones with the Morris dance, the black face. This is all to do with being a burnt one, okay, which would be, again, ascended. You're the phoenix flying out of the ashes, so you become the burnt one. So the statue ends up being the burnt one, and he's talking about it, and the interviewer is asking him, so why do you see this piece as special now? And he goes, well, she's the burnt one, but I feel that she has great importance for the future. Okay, so they probably set it on fire on purpose just to create this scenario of being the ascended goddess of Isis. Okay, I did a video about Melania. I'll drop the link to that video. I did it about a year ago, and I had seen that she was a really important representation of Isis, and that Trump, was Thoth, or I really see him now as Osiris. Okay, so this is really important because it's tying into this theme, and this is all to do with the Tree of Life. Right? It's not that they're Egyptian, pagan, worshiping paganism or whatever. It all goes back to the Tree of Life and these two paths. So I want to go into this with her and look at her birth time. I don't have her hour, but I have a lot of little add-ins which I had not known about before. I had no idea that there was an Osiris asteroid. And there's also an Isis asteroid. And you won't believe where they end up on both of their birthdays. It's unbelievable. So it's just confirming more and more and more that this is what they represent, and they were born for this role. They came into this realm to complete this role. So the town is called Sebnitsa, Slovenia. This is where she was born, and they burnt the statue on July 4th. It's quite similar to this statue here. You can see over on the right of supposedly Isis in the 14th century. It's just like a wooden statue. Sebnitsa is very, very close, or right next to this other town called Nova Mesto. And the last video I did on Melania, I had mentioned that this town, Nova Mesto, was actually had these situlas that they had found, which are the pots, the kumbha pots that, has the nectar of the gods in. This town was known for that. And so it's, in a way, it's worshiping Isis because she is also depicted with carrying these pots. So Sebnitsa has some interesting history. It's a very old town, and eventually the Germans took it over, changed its name to Lichtenwalde. Now the coat of arms is like a tree of life with two birds on it with a castle, but looks like a crown on top. So this is all to do with the tree of life. So Sebnitsa was situated on the border of the two historical regions of Habsburg Empire. So it's interesting that they call it Styria. I think that ties into the river Styx. It was first mentioned in written documents dating to the 1275 by the German name Lichtenwalde. At the time, it was one of the most important settlements along the lower Sava. Throughout the High and Late Middle Ages. It was an exclave of the Prince Archbishopric of Salzburg. It was seized by the Habsburgs, Empire of Maximilian. Yeah, they weren't nice. They're part of the whole Roman Empire, the Habsburgs. Okay, so they seized the town. Then between the 1809, 1813, it was the border town between the French administration, and then it was hosted a national revival, and then it went into World War II, and then the Nazis took it over, and then there's all these mass graves in it where they did. They ended up getting rid of the original people of the town and ended up bringing a whole bunch of Germans to live there. Okay, so they kind of genocide the people from this town, and there's mass graves to prove it. It's a really beautiful town. This is where a Lutheran cellar, where this Protestant author preached in the 16th century. But, you know, obviously this town is really important, and the elite want to constantly control it. So whether it has, you know, the confluence of the rivers or what's going on, there's probably something, you know, to do with its location and the importance of it. Yeah, so this is originally where her family came from, her family name, which I did in that other video. And there it says it's saying the city of Situlas, which is to do with these pots, okay? And here's these pots. It's all tying back to Isis. So she's the goddess of a million names, okay? Like, because she represents the to pass in a way. She represents the event. She's Venus. And they're even saying in here, Isis ties into Aphrodite. Well, who's Aphrodite? Aphrodite's Venus. So Isis is really Venus, okay? But she ties into the bull, you know, she's always has, you know, in Egyptian, she always has the horns with the sun between the horns. You know, so she has very many different names. You could go on and on and on. You could write a book on all, you know, on her. So I just wanted to depict that, you know, this all ties in. They have the statue there. They burnt it. This is all tying into Melania. So, you know, she has a role to play. Here she is, a statue of Isis Persephone. So, you know, she's tying into Persephone as well, which is also tying into the triple goddess. So she ties into the moon. She also ties into Fortuna, which is with the cornucopia. So it's to do with the harvest. And then she's got the horns on her head, even in this depiction of her, not even Egyptian. Why the horns? Because Venus rules Taurus, where the Pleiades are. So Venus, Earth, Pleiades, horns, bull. It's all the same. It's the original, you know, Taurus was way back in time, was the spring equinox. Okay, the goddess Isis was known in Sumerian as Tiamat, the serpent of chaos, the ancient one, the mother of the gods, and all abominations of chaos. The Egyptian god Set was originally a female deity and was identified with Isis. Set is the god of the desert, the storms, the foreigners in the ancient Egyptian religion. Oh, that's interesting, because supposedly Set is supposed to be, you know, kills Osiris, because Osiris cheated on his wife, you know, cheated with Set's wife. So, you know, the stories just, you know, change, but it's all connecting to something that happens in the sky. Okay, so this is what all this ancient stuff's all about. So here, Isis, the mother of God, played an evil trick on the sun god with a poisonous snake, and Isis behaved treacherously towards her son Taurus. So then it turned into a typhoon, you know. So anyhow, it's just something. It's a big chaotic event that happens, and that's what Venus represents. Okay, she's the mother goddess, but she comes to collect, you know, her crop, basically. Isis, the dark goddess, was also often depicted carrying a phallic object, which identifies with the male emblem with the solar origin of the symbol of the sun. Yes, this is what we know. We know that the sun is the phallic, and then the womb is the moon. Okay. Therefore, she carries the sun under her veil, for she is the great mother to the son of the sun. Okay, Horus, who she also nurses on her breast, for she is the moon goddess, or the goddess of darkness and chaos. It's just the feminine and male aspect of everything. And she has the sun beyond the veil, but here she has the veil. This is more a modern version of her, goddess of life. So she's not goddess of death. It depends on, if you see death as ascension, that's how they depict death. Also, is that you want to die because you want to ascend out of here. So everything gets swapped, right? You go, oh, death is bad, but no, actually it's good because then you're finally freed. So you have to just understand it's always polarity. Then they have her depicted at the last Christmas tradition that she did in the White House. She's depicted as the angel. Right, so I think the Christmas before, the trees were all red, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's satanic" or whatever. But it's that's more about the pine tree burning. Okay, so but then the last Christmas, it was all to do with the light bringer, and she was the angel. And this was a really interesting photo that they did of her on her birthday. Really staged. Like she's the goddess. There's the sun, the golden sun in the ball on the table, and she's like the green tree. She's the evergreen tree. Okay, so it's all symbolism, but you have to know your history to understand what they're projecting back. And this is where it gets interesting. Okay, so she's born on April 26, 1970. I don't have the time, so the moon is going to move a little teeny bit because we don't know the time. So I can't do her wheel, but I still know where all her planets are. So Isis, asteroid, the Isis is Virgo, okay, or Taurus, okay. So because it's ruled by Venus, and Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So we have the alchemy between Mercury and Venus, which is Hermes, and Aphrodite is Venus, the hermaphrodite. Okay, but they're both the women in the sky. Okay, so Venus is the woman planet, Virgo is the woman constellation. So the fact that Isis is there is like mind-boggling. She also has Uranus right on the left shoulder of Virgo, which is right by the Zavi-Java star, which is ascension. Jupiter is at the bottom of her skirt, which is beside the Shambhala star, which is heaven. And Jupiter is like the god of this realm. And this is, I circled Shambhala with a little red circle there. Now you can see Jupiter, the god of this realm. Oh, guess what? Osiris is right beside God. And they're all in Virgo. You have heaven as Uranus. You have the god of this realm. You have Osiris, Isis, all in Virgo when she was born. It's like mind blowing. I just can't believe it. Then she has, like over by Taurus, she has Mars, which is like war energy. She has Venus, the Virgin Mary planet, right on the Pleiades in conjunction. So she's like represents the Pleiades. Mercury's there, in the same constellation, all in Taurus, the bull. And then she has a Sun-Saturn conjunction in Aries, the Lamb of God, the golden fleece. And Juno's in religion. She's also like the bride, right, Juno? So like, I'm just like, whoa. So it makes her a reserve, Saturn being in conjunction with the sun. It kind of creates like the sun, like she's not going to be outcoming with her power. She's going to hold it in a little bit more, which is really what her personality is like. So I'm just like, I didn't know enough about Isis and Osiris before, that there was actually asteroids. I just found this out this week. So the fact that this is all about the tree of life, and her, Isis and Osiris are in Virgo, and all this is, all in Taurus and Aries. Like, it's so divinely perfect, that of course she represents Isis. Of course she does. Now, I've been studying a lot about the 9 muses and the music that they play. and I will do a video on all that. Melpomene is tragedy. Okay, she's the muse that represents tragedy, and she's in the doorway of Ophiuchus, which is, you know, Scorpio. Ophiuchus is like the upper house of Scorpio, and of course Mars rules Scorpio in the traditional way, but Pluto also rules Scorpio, or you could say Pluto rules Ophiuchus. Okay, it's the hidden doorway out of here. This all ties into the Kabbalah tree, and Pluto on the Kabbalah tree. Okay, so, you know, and Pluto represents the hidden stuff, the hidden knowledge. So, you know, her tragedy is on that door, and she's the goddess of chaos. She's part of the chaos, but she's also part of taking you to the underworld. Okay, so into ascension. So it's just all so perfect. It's just, then the moon is in conjunction with Nunki. Okay, if you don't know what Nunki is, the star in Sagittarius, it's one of the oldest stars on the planet that has ever been recorded. It ties into the high priestess, and it ties into the goddess Diana, which is the moon goddess. She, you know, she's the archer, which is what Sagittarius is. But that Nunki star, I'm telling you, it has such importance. And the fact that her moon is in conjunction with it when she was born, I was just like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. Sagittarius points at the Golden Gate where Scorpio is. Now, in Chinese mythology or astrology, Scorpio is the dragon. So, you know, the goddess Diana has to shoot the dragon if you want to ascend. Okay, so it's just unbelievable. And Nunki is the star that pulls back the bow, the arrow, sorry, you know, before it shoots off. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know what to say. That's just all divine and amazing. Okay, so yeah, Nunki is considered to be a Babylonian city of Eridu, which ties into the Euphrates, which is really the constellation Eridanus, okay, which represents the Euphrates, which would make Nunki the oldest star named currently in use. So that's pretty important. And Eridanus River is the river Leth. It's not the Nemosin River. It's the river Leth, where you go through the ship, and then you get down the rabbit hole is basically that river, and your memory gets wiped. Okay, that's the mythology to that river. And, you know, Nunki star, you know, she's the goddess. She decides which way you're going to go, basically, how you manage yourself in these times with your emotional state. The Nunki star. The Latin name given first here means the open sea, which Nunki is the word in the Chaldean roots. All that is left to us from this longer expression. The edict of the sea. When we come to Pisces, we shall find another star, also called Kulat Nini, which very similar connotations, but perhaps more to be expected. There is a watery constellation of the fishes, right? So it's, but you know, we don't think that it's going to be water in Sagittarius, right? But it is. You know, this is the open sea. Now, this all ties into Isis, okay? Because she is also the goddess of the seafarers, okay? So, you know, this Nunki star is Isis, okay? So her moon is in conjunction. It's unbelievable. The immense, so they're just saying here, it's always impressed humanity with a sense of divine power, which alone can rule such a force. And the idea of the divinity commanding is well suggested by both the Etic title and the God is speaking. So it's the Nunki star is God is speaking. The moon, okay, you know how much the moon is important. I've been going on and on about the moon, okay. So this is it. It's, you know, all perfect. Yeah, so Sagittarius is ruled by fire. So there's the moon star in the fire sign. Okay, so then you can see how the arrows being pulled back. Now, Nemosin, which is the mother of all the muses. She is up in Aquila, which is the eagle flying away with the pin. I see it as flying away with the needle. Like you're not taking the needle, you're flying out, you're at the Golden Gate, you fight the dragon, and you go to the left, and you go up to Cygnus, and you become on the cross of Cygnus, and you ascend, okay? The other route, you go to be the mad dog and into the ship, okay? That's what I've been saying this for a year now, but it's really relevant that, you know, she has her Nemosin, her memory, going that route to the left, okay, at the Golden Gate there. So it's all perfect. The other one I wanted to add in here was Sappho. Now, Sappho is depicted in alchemic symbol as double Venus symbols, okay? Now, she is the poet that was considered to be the 10th muse. Now, the fact that that's also in Taurus and in conjunction with Aldebaran, and she names her son Baron. Okay, so I don't know what to say. It's just pretty obvious that we're in very important times. Now, the other thing I pulled up here was Minerva. She's the owl goddess, right? Athena, ties to Athena. Now, her Minerva is in Pollux, which is the one twin of the Gemini twins. That is the immortal twin. Okay, and then we have Vesta, which is like the kind of like the altar for the sacrifice. It's in the Golden Gate, okay, which is between Cancer and Leo. So this is all her placements for her birthday. You know, everything about Isis is to represent a bit like the Virgin Mary, and she breastfeeds her baby, Horus. So, you know, it wouldn't surprise me why they have, you know, this very explicit picture with the breasts, okay? So this is all tying into it as well. Now, just the end of February, they had this CPAC convention, and they had the big, crazy golden Trump statue there. And now we're going to look at his birth placement again, because I want to show you where Osiris is. You won't believe where Osiris is. It's like, it's unbelievable, okay? So I want to show you all that now. Remember I did the video on the Mebsuta star, which is in Gemini, with Trump's Mercury is in conjunction with? When I keep going on that Trump is Mercury, because his gematria of his name, Trump, comes out to 88, and that's Mercury's, you know, orbit, and that, you know, it all tied into the wild protest because that was Odin's wild hunt day, and that's also Mercury because Odin is Merkezi, it's Woden day in German, which is Wednesday. Okay, so I've been going on that Trump and Trump is Mercury, Mercury. I couldn't believe it when Osiris was in conjunction with this Mebsuta star. We know Mebsuta was where the moon was on 9/11. We also know it's the claw of the lion, the big Al-Sad lion that is totally across the sky that goes from, you know, Arcturus all the way through Gemini, Cancer, Leo. It's the massive lion, and it's the claw. And, you know, he decides where you go. He's, you know, he's the king that dies that gets reborn, okay, resurrected. And, you know, it's all ties in with Mercury. Mercury is like, you know, he's the one that teaches you how to resurrect, okay? He's, I just can't believe it. I was just like, I had to do this for you guys. I was just like, oh my God, this is insane. So my intuition was right. I love it when I get confirmation. So Trump is the Lion King, okay? He's Osiris. He's on the claw. You know, I know it's all insanity, but this is really the Assad lion, the original lion in the sky, goes into Gemini right to that star. You know, it's this can't get any better, guys. And then, of course, Don Jr.'s tweet about him being Lion King, and Biden was, you know, Scar. So, you know, they're projecting it out. You just have to not get caught up in the duality of it's all like, you know, he's right, she's wrong, he's whatever. It's just see through the illusion. Understand your history. Okay, so he also, I wanted to put Urine, and he's right beside Pollux as well. Now, the Ur is the oldest city, one of the oldest cities on the planet. I will go into that another time because this video is already getting kind of long. But, you know, he has Venus there, love, with this Saturn. You know, and it's just the fact that, again, he's on the Gemini twin that is to do with ascension, with the Uranus and the Venus and the Saturn. And Osiris, Mercury, you know, they're Odin. They decide whether you come or you go. You know, it's like it's really the duality of the two. So, you know, I guess some people feel they're resonating with him as Osiris, as, you know, that's why they don't like him and they see him as a threat. And then other souls see him as like, oh no, he's like, you know, going to help us ascend. It really depends on from your soul level, how you perceive Trump. And you know, and also, you know, always the programming, what they're pushing out. And, you know, they're all in on it. The media knows he's Osiris. They know, okay? They all know. But it's more of a game of how many souls awaken and who, you know, how many don't. And I think Trump, with all the symbolism that he's showing, he's trying to show you the history. He's trying to teach us, this is your history, learn it so you can save yourselves. No, but I'm not going to save you. I'm going to teach you how to save yourselves. And if you see me as this evil demon, then you're going to hang from the top of the tree of life. You're going to be the hangman with the Odin Philot. Is it Philot leg symbol? You know, you're going to hang the hangman on the tarot card from that tree if you are in hate, okay, or fear or whatever. So it's really fascinating how it's all being done. Like, it's what a friggin' psyop. Like, what a game we're in. It's just boggles my mind. So I just want to talk a little bit about Osiris, what he represents to us, okay? I found this article about a book written all about the Osiris in you, okay, and how you have to kind of transmute it. But before we do that, I just want to go and show you where Isis is. It's on Cancer, which is home, which is the woman constellation. It's the moon constellation, the only moon constellation, where Isis is the moon. Okay, so even though sometimes she's depicted as the sun goddess, but she's moon as well. Okay, now Uranus is between the horns of Taurus when he was born, and the sun is there. We know that sun is in conjunction with the crab, again the moon, one of the first supernovas, the Crab Nebula. Okay. So very, very important placements when he was born. Unbelievable. Everything's about the bull. And the bull, it's the year of the Chinese ox this year. So we're in the bull year. How perfect. He also has Mnemosyne, memory, right beside Zabijava, where I put the little X there. And Neptune is there as well. So Neptune is really important. That's imagination. Also, you know, he's the king of the sea, right? Neptune. And also of the horses, with the chariots. So I thought I'd better go back and look at the founding of the United States date again, just to see if anything's really relevant there. And there's, yeah, now that I know more, I can kind of see, like, Mnemosyne is by the bull horns, right? And then Mars is there with Uranus. We have a Venus-Jupiter conjunction on Mebsuta, which is like love and the god. The sun is in the twin towers of the twins of Gemini, and Mercury is still in Gemini, which, you know, Mercury rules Gemini. So this would all be very significant. The moon is in Aquarius, for like the age of Aquarius. And then we have Melpomene. She's on like the Cetus, the whale, the sea monster, in Pisces. So it's like, you know, it's tragedy for spirituality. It can be tragedy, this whole event, right? It's like they created the whole United States to mirror this event of the end times. Okay, it's really fascinating how they did it. Well, how they took the two eclipses that are going through the United States. The one in 2017, it went through St. Louis, the Silver Gate, and so they created the Silver Gate there. The Silver Gate is between the horns of the bull. Okay, so they did this all on purpose because they knew this was a ritual to this time. and then they created Washington, D.C., Capitoline Hill, all tied into Rome. Washington used to be called Rome, all on the same parallel line as the Silver Gate in St. Louis and the Golden Gate in California, and then up to the Lions Gate in Vancouver, like the perfect angle for the Freemason angle. So it's amazing that they created all the monuments for this event. Okay? But it's just interesting to see now the sky is aligning to our timeline. Plus, when we go back and look, we can see there's relevance now that we understand more of the Greek mythology. We can see, oh, really, they really timed it perfectly. Now, this is really crazy. Now, you know how the Washington Monument is Spica, right? And Arcturus is the White House and Capitol Hill building. The Capitol building is Regulus, right? We know this this is in the Freemason history video that I watched. Now, Osiris is with the Washington Monument on the founding of United States Day. Like, what are the chances, guys? Like, this is crazy. And Saturn's there too, because Saturn's the keeper of time for the Golden Age. And Neptune is exactly where it is when Trump was born, on the Zavi-Java star. Okay, and he rides the 4 horses, the chariots. The 4 horses are the 4 fixed stars. Okay, so they're the 4 archangels. So it's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Now we also have Juno there. It won't pull up, like Osiris won't stay there when I pull Juno up, but you know, they're right across from each other. So she's the bride, okay, and you know, it's interesting in mythology, Osiris has an affair with Seth's wife, and they have a baby, you know, and she kind of pretended she was Isis, right? But she wasn't. So you know, she tricked them. But anyhow, it's just interesting because Juno represents the bride, and she's the bride of Jupiter, okay, and she's part of the triple goddess for the Capitoline Hill. Which all ties into Capitol Hill, from Rome, which Juno, Jupiter, and Minerva. So this is important that Juno was in the belly. They're not coming straight out and saying that she was married to Jupiter, but they kind of say it in a funny way. They go, the name Juno was also once thought to be connected to Jove. And then they have the word love in there. Well, Jove is Jupiter. So then she had the name Giovanna. Then they talk about Jupiter being called the youngest. And then they go, you know, they talk about the Capitol Hill, temple of the Capitoline Jove. And then they got kind of kicked out. And then Juno is considered to be equivalent to Hera, the goddess of marriage. So this is where she ties into the goddess of marriage. And love and marriage. So she's like the bride. Okay, so, and then they have her down here as Moneta. Remember I did the whole thing of Mnemosyne and Moneta being money. It's the money. But, you know, it's supposed to be, Mnemosyne is supposed to be money. But they've kind of flipped her in there saying that she could be part of money as well. So that's all very interesting. You know, they flip around, you know, like the same characters moving around. But anyhow, fact is, on the founding date, she was in the belly. So this is very important. Now this ties in a bit to Melania with her birth, because Isis is like straight with Nunki. So we have, you know, the Nunki star is the Isis star, and that's where it was on the founding of the United States. So if you put this on a wheel, it would probably look like it's in conjunction. But here it's not. But anyhow, it's very significant that it happens to be right there. Like, this is like nuts. Now Sappho, who is the 10th muse, and also was in worshiping and creating cults to worship Venus, she was almost in conjunction with Regulus. Now that would be the Capitol Hill building, with the hypothesis of Washington painting in the dome of the ceiling. Okay, where all the planets, you know, Neptune's there, Minerva's there, you know, Circe's there, I think Vulcan's there, lots of different characters in that painting. So anyhow, this is just interesting that she happens to be right there on Regulus, which is the Rex star, the crown. It's alchemy. In the last video, it was all about Osiris festival and his resurrection and when it's celebrated. And it has 2 dates, depending on which calendar you're using, October 17th or October 28th. And of course, Osiris is in the Lamb of God, Aries, the crown of the cardinal cross, which is the ascended cross, the high cross. The mutable cross is the take the vaccine, get harvested cross. Okay, so it's just perfect. How can it be, and even Uranus is there. So Osiris is with Uranus heaven in that constellation of the Lamb of God. It's divine. So now for this year, I was listening to another astrologer, and he was saying that this area below Ophiuchus is called the Huppah. Now, this is a Jewish term for the covering for where you go to get married. It's like a canopy. Okay, so I just find that really interesting that he said that, and it makes sense to me. Like, I just kind of kept it in my memory bank and go, that makes sense, But very fascinating. So on October 17th, when this festival to Osiris is and of his resurrection, Venus and the bride happens to be underneath, well, one's above the canopy and one's below the canopy, but Venus is, right on conjunction with the fixed star of Antres. So this is, on the beast. So it's the bride and the beast, so Beauty and the Beast. Like, I don't know, this is just crazy, but I just think this is crazy because, that's the dragon, and that's the doorway. Ophiuchus is right there, the doorway. So I was like, I'm putting that out there, but then when I started researching, I realized that there's another star right there that happens to be the same, close to the same name as the Huppah. So here's the Huppah, or Kupa, how they say it, and there's a picture of it. So this is kind of supposedly like the canopy there. And it would make total sense. It's supposed to be this in biblical passage, the bride, right? So yeah, it totally makes sense that it's at the doorway, the Freemason doorway of Ophiuchus. So here's a closer look of Scorpio. You see Antres there, I circled them, and Dishaba. Now, Dishaba, they're saying the name comes from an Arabic word called Jabhat, meaning forehead of the scorpion. It was once called Aklervak, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right, a translation of Arabic word, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, meaning the crown of the scorpion. Yet another name is Osiris. That's the festival again that I've spoken about before. Okay, it all ties into the I think it's in the spring, that festival, but it all ties into the Osiris festival, because that festival is all to do with her in the sea, being the seafarer's goddess. Now this all brings us back to the Nunki star. So yeah, so they're saying it ties into the Egyptian Isis, this star that is right beside where Venus is going to be this fall, and it's in the Huppah, right? It's all there. So here they're saying the origins of both names is obscure, but the first probably connects with the Egyptian goddess Isis, and the second looks like a pretty amateuristic, dramatic corruption of Al-Jahab, the forehead, where we find it on the scorpion. Since the name has already been used for a star in the forehead of Leo, so Leo has the same name. It's crazy. We shall do better to keep it here, as the Skupa, the clumsy spelling notwithstanding. So it's a Babylonian title. Center of the head of Scorpio confirms our guess at the Arabic title before it was transliterated by Hare. Somebody, but it's still early Mesopotamian had it as Jihad Jan Ju Sur. which seems to have meant the forbidden tree of life in Eden. Oh my God, like I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me? Okay, the forbidden tree of life in Eden. And that's what Venus is going to be. She's Isis. She's Eve. Okay? It's just like, crazy. Self-transformation and alchemy is Osiris. Okay, so it's saying here etymology meaning of alchemy with the mythic figure Osiris. Well, al means the and chemi means black. It's like the Kemri, right, of Wales. It does not mean that alchemy is black magic or some other dark or evil form of witchcraft. This perception comes from an ununiformed bias. The black has a clear link to the black, dark, moist, and regenerative soil of the Nile River in Egypt, a historically significant area of agricultural development and led to one of the world's most dominant and extensive civilizations of the Age of Taurus, okay, roughly 4,420 to 2,260 BC, the Age of Taurus, the bull. It all ties into, the harvest. This is what the black soil is. It's like, it's all tying into ascension as well, the blackened ones. So it's saying here, the symbolism is why I feel that Osiris archetype also involves the Aquarian Leo archetype. Need of liberating from dominant societal conditioning in order to find and self-actualize one's true heroic journey. Okay, so, and then it says, and the special purpose one has incarnated into this lifetime. Now, the Aquarius Leo is the male access on the fixed cross. And this is what I keep saying, that Trump is Leo, the lion, on the fixed cross. But, an Aquarius is also the phoenix, okay, on the fixed cross. So the fixed cross is collapsing. It's male dominant. It all ties into the tree of life. And you have to be like, if you think of it like this reality that we've been living is the fixed cross, male dominant. You have to, as this is collapsing, you have to be the phoenix rising out, okay? And then you go on to either cross, mutable, or cardinal. It has nothing to do with your natal chart, okay? Where it doesn't matter which one you're born on. I'm just talking about on a societal level. This is what's happening, okay? So yeah, he's the lion. Fascinating to me is that there is a mirror of the Osiris myth in the story of Moses in the Bible, who liberated the Jewish people from the Egyptian oppression in the age of Aries. Moses was also sent down the Nile River, but in this version he was a baby who had been born into a Jewish slave family, only to be rescued by a member of the house of the Pharaoh and taken into the inner circle of the Pharaoh. Moses grows up surrounded by Osiris and Isis and sees firsthand how the role of the Pharaoh had become distorted through oppressive use of power. Moses eventually becomes the liberator and is one of the many heroes in humanity's history. Okay, so it's saying that Osiris is just like Moses. He is the liberator. That's just why Trump is trying to liberate people and, fight for your rights, da-da-da-da. But at the same time, if you don't see the illusion, you're stuck on that pillar and you think you put all your eggs in his basket and you say, oh, you're going to save me. But it's not. He's going to show you how to save yourself. This is what I keep saying. This is all about saving yourself. It's all to do with individual battle with this tree of life, Osiris. When I think of Moses, all I think about is him parting the sea. It's like he's creating the divide, right? And then you walk through the divide, the middle path. So it's very similar to what's going on with the division. It says here, embody the Osiris archetype. We must take into account his individualization as he matures into a cosmic archetype. What he does is not for the self-gain, but for the benefit of all. Ultimately, the spirit of the dead arrives in the duat, the fitting place for him to reign as God of the dead and master the unconscious forces. In this way, Osiris archetype can reflect the Aquarian liberation from Capricorn conditioning, is ultimately make a Piscean surrender to having Capricorn responsibility for the inner power that is for the good of all. An inner power that can have Scorpio knowledge and how to emerge, or how to merge the use resourceful for the greater collective interest. That's just a bunch of astrology talk, but really the whole thing is to, you know, he's trying to create a higher consciousness. And yeah, you go to this duat and you either die and ascend, because ascension is really like death in a way, because you're no longer part of this illusion. You're now free to come and go. In a way, you know, so it's like, but it's not like a normal death where your body is just gone. It's like you transform. That's really my understanding of ascension. It's not floating up and being saved by something in the sky. That definitely is a psyop, in my opinion. It's not about floating. It's about staying here and transmuting yourself and connecting to Earth and retaining your memories through connecting to history, through the water, in the ground, and transform yourself through the soles of your feet. That's ascension. In the Osiris myth, the archetype of lead enters the story through the manipulation and power-hungry Seth character who tricks Osiris into becoming sealed into a coffin and sends him down the Nile. Seth was angry with Osiris because of his infidelity with Nephthys, who was the wife of Seth, and mating was produced, the offspring was Anubis. As a result of his rage, jealousy, and desire for power, Seth not only murdered Osiris, but cuts up his body into various fragmented pieces. After the long journey that, in some scenes, his thematic parallels to the myth of Dimitri and Circe searching for their daughter Persephone. Isis finds Osiris, puts his body back together, makes love to him, and reanimates him long enough to produce their offspring Horus. Ultimately, Osiris descends to the underworld. So there's this parallel between Persephone's, you know, story with Pluto and Circe, that's her daughter, and she's trying to find her. So it's just the same story over and over again, just in different cultures. It's just the tree of life. That's what it is. It's the tree of life story. It's just over and over again. Pick the path you want to go on. But I find this funny with the infidelity, because remember with Trump, when he first got into office, there was a big scandal that he had infidelity, you know, and it just seems so out of character. I was like, why are they going on and on about this? And it's like, now I know why. It's part of the story, right? So they had to do it, right? So it's like, it's like light bulb moments all the time. So the last sentence here, Osiris descends to the underworld and resurrects himself as the ruler there. So that's what it is. The other realm, he rules in the other realm. So here, yeah, the infidelity is explored. The myth contents the archetypal axis of development from Taurus to Scorpio, and how sometimes it takes us explorations, a cultural taboo, in order to find our true value system. So, yeah, the world soul, the anima mundi, and the transcended self envision this light that is trapped within our decaying body, a self-serving ego, and more generally, the unconscious. So, yeah, it's all to do with awakening your consciousness. It's saying, yeah, Osiris, you know, Seth's wife, she was disguising herself as his wife, Isis. But in all the versions, there's a cultural taboo of infidelity. So, yeah, this is why they did the whole Trump was, you know, had cheated. So, yeah, there you go. This is not easy work. The myth of Osiris symbolizes how we can become dismembered and put through death experiences in society, how our psyche can become fragmented through the experience of trauma and harsh societal conditioning. At times it seems like it would take an act of divine intervention for a goddess like Isis to reanimate our psyche and make us whole again. However, as the alchemical symbolism suggests, we have the spark of the golden being inside of ourselves, awaiting our self-activation and actualization. So it's really about self. It's really about, disconnecting from the chaos, finding your inner peace, like I said, all the time. Theta brain waves, you got to get to that middle path in your brain and stop seeing it all as like, you're being attacked or the blame or whatever negative emotion you're putting onto all this, you've got to release it. I think I'm starting to understand why I'm so obsessed with this ancient knowledge and, this whole tree of life. I have Minerva and Osiris in conjunction with my sun. I'm just like, oh, no wonder I can't think about anything else. But I'm trying to get it all behind me, just kind of put it out there, and then we can start to, I can start to work on my online school and get that all up and running, because there's a lot of exciting stuff in there that will help you with the process of finding the middle path. You start to see it's one big divine mathematical symbolic equation, and you can start to realize that this is so much bigger than what we've been taught, that you can find your way of finding peace in it, because you can't control it. You can't control any of it. Like I said before, only your reaction to it. Okay, so this is what the great work's all about, because once you see that it's so much bigger than any of us can control, you just release it and then try to find the inner peace. Now, if everybody did that on the planet, if every soul found inner peace and opened their mind and was excited about learning new things that you haven't been taught, or you're interested in opening your mind and learning things that are taboo, we would all be in this divine place. And if every soul was in this divine place, the world would be divine. It's all energy, right? So it's really about that. And so all you can do is fix your little piece, which is you. And then we just have to, let people get through it on their own. In a way, you can help them, but you can't fix them. Okay, it has to be the great work that you choose to do. So yeah. So anyhow. I just wanted to put this all out there because I just discovered this whole asteroid, Isis, Osiris, and I just felt like I needed to do this quickly and just put it out there so we can move on to other things and start to learn about healing our bodies. Now, the whole thing with the muses, the 9 muses, there is a mathematical equation in there that heals the body. It also ties into individual horoscopes, okay? And I want to get into that. I want to teach that in my online school, and I want to start offering that as something that we can just discuss in having an astrology reading done just on your natal chart, with these reading your natal chart so you can heal your own body and understand the imbalances in your body through the muses. Okay, so that's all very exciting because that's all Pythagorean history, and I want to bring that forth too. So anyhow, lots of fun things to look forward to, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and please leave a comment, because it does really bring me joy to know that people are excited to watch this stuff, even if you correct my pronunciation. I love it. I has just started looking into buying a lyre. And my last video, I guess I was saying lair, and then somebody said, "Oh, you pronounced it wrong." And I realized that when I was looking into buying one, because the lyre is actually helps heal the body as well. Okay, and this all ties into the muses. So this is all stuff I want to get into. It's more exciting than just kind of showing you guys the illusion. I want to get past this stuff and let's get into the stuff we need to learn. Okay, so anyhow, leave a comment, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. And if anybody wants your Saturn returns done, I still have time. I'm not so booked right now, but I'll drop my email in the link. Okay, so have bliss. That's all you can do. Be in bliss.